with a, you need to adapt to us, I mean, that is dead on arrival. Like in my experience, and globally, and frankly, even here in Davos, meeting with financial regulators in all kinds of countries, I think we have to acknowledge, Ben Bernanke, the former head of the U.S. Fed, came to one of Ripple's customer events, and one of the things he said is, countries will not give up their ability to control monetary supply. They will roll tanks into the streets first because it's giving up sovereignty. Now, we can debate whether or not some countries at the longer tail ever had control of their money supply. But the G20, I think I agree with Jeremy that digital cash, or excuse me, cash is anonymous and private and all those things. But if you ever walk into the bank and ask to withdraw $20,000 of cash, they're going to ask you a lot of questions.
We making moves. We making major moves. We making moves. We making major moves. We going all in like we got nothing to lose. We making moves. We making major moves. We making moves.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mr. Man. Welcome back to my channel. Today's a different type of show. Why is it different? Because I'm talking about the president candidacy. That's where we're at today. So, I presented a video this morning where I was talking about I don't believe that President Trump will get into office. Why? Now let me give you more further and deeper facts into my theory and my understanding of why I don't believe this is going to happen. Here we have KGW 8 News. This is from October somewhat. Okay, something. And they're going to be talking about Trump not being put on the ballots. They're not on the ballots. We got ballot boxes burning out in the U.S. as well. Right, there's a lot happening here to keep Trump out of office. But if you look at things right now, you'll notice that Trump is actually being priced into the market. The market is hoping and wanting Trump to win. Shit, if I was in the U.S., I want Trump to win. You know what I'm saying? Because logically, it just makes sense without thinking. Kamala's a liar who doesn't credibility back up anything that she says, and she just laughs her way through things, right? If anybody can't see this, wake up. But unfortunately, I'm not in the US. I have no say. Regardless of what I vote anyways, I have no say, right? We still got Justin Trudeau here, Pierre Poilievre, Maxime Bernier. There's a few people here. Do I trust any of them? Absolutely not. If you're a politician, you're likely lying. You're likely leading and furthering an agenda. Everything is an agenda. This is a construct that we live in, created by other people pulling strings. Okay? Other people pulling the strings, and we just happen to be here believing that we have free will, which we do to a certain extent within this construct. Make sense? Okay. So, how do I know Trump is being priced into this market? Let me show you. So here we are at the Dixie. What is the Dixie? The US dollar index is an index of the value of the United States dollar relative to a basket of foreign currencies. Often referred to as a basket of US trade partner currencies, the index goes up when the US dollar gains strength. Let me bring this into reality here for you guys, okay? So here we have it. The US dollar has been gaining strength since, let's just see this here, since September 24th this year. Sorry, September 30th this year. You can see the buildup of it. And then we hit a wall. We're hitting a wall at the 104 mark as we enter the president's election here in the US. Not here, but in the US itself. So, the buildup, and now we're accumulating. But there was a huge buildup. The market's pricing in something. Let's see what they're pricing in. So here we have it. Here's what the market is pricing in. I already showed you the increase in the strength of the dollar. The markets are pricing in a Trump win, right? 63.6%. I'm not making that up. You see the numbers there. So we see this here. Trump is legitimately being priced in. Legitimately, all right? Legitimately. I'm not just making this up. 63.66% versus 36.4%. You see the strength of the dollar. He's being priced in to win. And I would love to have this, this orange man get in. I would. Because that whatever happens to the US affects Canada as well. But let me show you what I believe will happen. We have gone over this document several times before, and I'll add further credibility as well, okay? Before we get into this, I do want to show you guys this here. Watch. Look at this. Donald Trump isn't in the Oregon voters' pamphlets. Here's the reason why. Trump is on the ballot in Oregon, but his campaign didn't issue a statement for the pamphlets. Apparently he's not in pamphlets out in Oregon. What else is happening out there?
And an investigation is underway following the discovery of an incendiary device inside a ballot box in Portland. Meanwhile, in Vancouver, Washington, ABC affiliate KATU captured the moment heavy smoke was seen coming from inside a drop-off ballot box. ABC's Alex Stone is tracking that for us from the LA Bureau. Alex, what's the latest on these incidents?
Well, we're just getting details on them right now, Diane. Two different incidents, the one at 3:30 in the morning in the Vancouver or in Portland, and then 6:30 in the morning in the Vancouver area. Those two only about a 15, 20-minute drive apart from one another. And police in both of them, we know the FBI is now looking into them. Police say they don't know who did this. You can see in this video right here the smoke coming out. In the Vancouver incident, they know that there were hundreds of ballots that were in that drop box and that it involved ballots that were dropped off from 8 a.m. yesterday morning. The last pickup in the box was at 8 o'clock yesterday morning. And right now the FBI is responding. Police don't know, was this vandalism? Was it something more organized? They are investigating it, but just in the last couple of hours, the fire's breaking out.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So let's go see who actually has higher ratings or higher polls in that area. So here we are at the Oregon map there. Do you think Trump supporters would be sabotaging themselves, right, when they want to get in there? You think they're going to be lighting things on fire when Kamala already has that thing down packed there? She owns that state, right? Like, that's a blue state, a Democratic state. Do you think the red state is going to be setting things on fire there to try and get... That's... Like, logically speaking, if they're losing already and they set things on fire, they're losing any potential votes that they have for the red. Do you think the red would do that and sabotage themselves when no matter what happens, the outcome, it's already blue? Right? Think about this. The market is pricing in Trump to win, but I don't logically believe that he will win. Further evidence. I'm only going to read a small excerpt of this, but I want to give you guys the facts and understanding. SPARS Pandemic 2025 to 2028, put out by the Johns Hopkins Institute of whatever. Futuristic Scenario for Public Health Risk Communications. Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security. There we go. There we go. Let's jump into this. And they break it down into different chapters. Like, it's really neat to listen to this and to be able to take this in. That's, the scenario purpose, generation. In the year 2025, the world has simultaneously become more connected, yet more divided. Nearly universal access to wireless internet and new technology, including internet accessing technology, thin, flexible screens that can be temporarily attached to briefcase, sound familiar, backpacks or clothing, and used to stream content from the internet, has provided the means for readily sharing news and information. However, many have chosen to self-restrict the sources they turn to for information, often electing to interact only with those whom they agree. That's the groupthink individuals. This trend has increasingly isolated cliques from one another, making communication across and between those groups more and more difficult. This is why I state I don't necessarily want to be around like-minded individuals. I'd rather be around people who see and understand things in a similar manner, but are also willing to allow other constructs and concepts into their thoughts and thought patterns, as opposed to just, nope, this is it, nothing else, facts are facts. Facts can change, as we are living through a time period in our life now where facts are changing continuously. From a government standpoint, the current administration is led, this is again fictitious, is led by President Randall Archer. We'll take out Archer and put President Biden in there, who took office in January 2025. Archer served not Archers. Instead of Archer, sorry, Randall Archer, put Kamala Harris in that, okay? Who took office in January 2025, served as vice president under President Jacqueline Bennett. Under Jacqueline Bennett, put President Joe Biden. From 2020 to 2024, you can't make this shit up here. Who did not seek a second term due to health concerns? Wow. The two remain close to Bennett. And Bennett acts as a close confidant and unofficial advisor to President Archer. The majority of President Archer's senior staff, including Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Dr. Sindra Nagel, are carryovers from President's administration. At the time of their initial SPARS outbreak, Nagel had served in the position for just over 3 years. I'm going to go a bit further into this. I want you to see the comparisons and the similarities. So, social media technologies, including long-existing platforms such as Facebook, Snapchat, and Twitter, as well as emerging platforms like, these are made up, ZapQ, a platform that enables users to aggregate and archive selected media content from other platforms and communicate with cloud-based social groups based on common interest and current events. Federal and state public health organizations also have developed agency-specific applications and ramped up efforts to maintain and update agency websites. Challenging their technological grip, however, are the diversity of new information and media platforms and the speed of which the social media community evolves. Moreover, while technologically savvy and capable, these agencies still lag in terms of their multilingual skills, cultural competence, and ability to be present on all forms of social media. Additionally, these agencies face considerable budget constraints, which further complicate their efforts to expand their presence across the aforementioned platforms, increase social media literacy among their communication workforce, and improve public uptake of key messages. Key messages. So here we go now. Scenario organization and use. This scenario was designed to illustrate the public health risk communication challenges associated with distribution of emergency medical countermeasures during an infectious disease pandemic. The story is organized chronologically, and each chapter concludes with a treatment of key communication dilemmas and corresponding discussion questions. Some questions are targeted towards challenges faced by risk communicators representing federal agencies, while others address issues more relevant to state and local risk communicators. As such, users may find it most helpful to run the scenario as a tabletop exercise. Alternatively, if users prefer to examine select communication dilemmas rather than proceed chronologically through the entire scenario, they may refer to Appendix A to D, which contains a timeline for the response and recovery phase of the story, as well as indices of the communication dilemmas and their corresponding page numbers. Let's do this now, okay? Here we go, the response. The SPARS outbreak begins, Chapter 1. In mid-October 2025, 3 deaths were reported. Remember these dates. 3 deaths were reported among members of the First Baptist Church of St. Paul, Minnesota. 2 of the church members had recently returned from a missionary trip to the Philippines, where they were provided relief to victims of regional floods. Coincidental?
Ay, lunok sa gayod, kapatan, pinalog. Bawal makaiga sa ibong lasangan. Usa din naman yan, adon.
This is an article from legitimately a day ago. The Philippines is prone to extreme weather, but few expected tropical storms Trami to be this devastating. Water was already up to knees, but 22-year-old Kerwin Garland's first thought was how to help his neighbors as their homes were filling with floodwater and being lashed by heavy rain. Tropical storm Trami, known as Christine, swept across the northeastern Philippines last week, inundating entire towns with severe flooding and triggering deadly landslides in what was the deadliest and most destructive storm to hit the archipelago so far this year. The third was the mother of a church member who had also traveled to the Philippines with the church group, but who has been only mildly sick himself. Based on the patient's reported symptoms, healthcare providers initially guessed that they had died from seasonal influenza, which health officials predicted would be particularly virulent and widespread that fall. Why would they think it would be so virulent and widespread? However, laboratory tests were negative for influenza. No doubt, we're using a PCR test probably again, unable to identify the causative agent. Officials at the Minnesota Department of Health's Public Health Laboratory sent the patient's clinical specimens to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, where scientists confirmed that the patient did not have the flu. One of CDC scientists recalled reading a recent ProMed dispatch describing the emergence of a novel coronavirus in Southeast Asia and ran a pan-coronavirus PCR test. A week later, the CDC team confirmed that 3 patients were, in fact, infected with a novel coronavirus, which was dubbed the St. Paul Acute Respiratory Syndrome coronavirus, after the city where the first cluster of cases had been identified. Again, 2025 to 2028. Here we are at the Lancet. Infectious diseases. The global alarm bell is ringing due to the threat of potential severe cases and deaths caused by a clade 1 of monkeypox virus. Remember, we as individuals in this world want the economy to go back up again and stay up. We in the economy don't get what we want, right? Whose mandate is it to keep the economy alive and well, to any means necessary? As stated on the Fed's website here, this is where I'm at, right? Board of Governors for the Federal Reserve. What economic goals does the Federal Reserve seek to achieve through its monetary policy? The Federal Reserve works to promote a strong and U.S. economy. Specifically, Congress has signed the Fed to conduct the nation's monetary policy to support the goals of maximum employment and stable prices. Those two goals are often referred to as the Fed's dual mandate. So the Fed's here to create the stability in the economy. That's what they're supposed to be doing, right? However that looks is up to them. Whatever we go through is up to them to create that stability in the economy. The paper fiat money is dying. And the way to get into from this world to this world, again, that spring, bam, something comes out of it. What comes out of it? The new digital world, new digital economy comes out of that shit. That's what's up, right? They have the mandate to make sure the economy is well. However that economy looks is up to them, whether that's physical fiat or digital fiat. That's up to them, not you and me in this world. Okay? So, who reported that as the end of June 2024, the multi-country monkeypox outbreak had caused a total of 99,000 laboratory confirmed cases. The WHO has proposed developing monkeypox control and elimination plans from the 2024 to 2025. How coincidental. In the strategic framework for enhancing prevention and control of Mpox. From when? 2024 to 2027. How coincidental. You can't make this shit up here. However, an ongoing severe outbreak of Mpox in the Congo has presented new challenges for monkeypox control and elimination. More than 14,000 cases and 511 deaths have been reported in the Congo since the beginning of the year. This year, 2024. Today is October 30th, 2024. Although outbreaks have been reported in the Congo for decades, the caseload for the first 6 months of this year matches the total of all 2023. It It has been over a year since the WHO announced the Mpox epidemic did not constitute a public health emergency yet. CDC's website. Bird flu response update from yesterday, October 29th. Since April 2024, the CDC, working with state public health departments, has confirmed H5 bird flu infections in 36 people in the U.S. 15 of these cases were associated with exposure to the H5N1 bird flu infected poultry, and 20 were associated with exposure to sick and infected dairy cows. Wow. Okay. Here we go. On Forbes. Anthrax outbreak in Wyoming sparks health warnings. Here's what to know. An outbreak of anthrax, a deadly bacterial disease feared as a potential bioweapon among cattle and wildlife in Wyoming, has killed dozens of animals, and health officials are urging people to take care as experts investigate what marks the first outbreak of its kind in the state in decades. You think I'm making this up? Legit? Like, do you honestly think I'm making this up? What do I have to gain from this? Nothing. Nothing. I live in the same economy that you do, right? Our constructs are very, very similar. Very, very similar, except I control my own construct and how I choose to see it. But the construct in terms of this earth and this world are very, very, very similar for most of the viewers in this earth. And notice how I use the term within this earth. Very, very similar. Right? Meaning that you're going to go through the things that I go through as well. However, I'll have a different take on them because I'll be able to see things differently than individuals as well. Okay, let's keep going. Here we are on Harvard website, Harvard T.H. Chan. The next pandemic, not if, but when. Well, sounds pretty confident to me. September 12, 2024, as new cases of bird flu and other infectious diseases continue to raise concern, Harvard T. Chan School of Public Health researchers share their perspectives on recognizing, preparing for, and managing future outbreaks. More than 4 years ago, the SARS-CoV-2 virus began blazing its trail across the world that was starkly unprepared for what lay ahead. As of October 2024, the virus had infected more than 7 million people who caused more than 7 million deaths. The pandemic also shined a light on vast health inequities, led to economic disruptions, and spawned vitriolic politics on everything from masks to vaccine to school closures. In recent months, with COVID-19 receding for many into less of an existential threat and more of an accepted undercurrent to daily life. So in other words, it's just becoming part of, it's just COVID. That's what it is now. A new infectious disease outbreak, the H5N1 bird flu, started making headlines as it spread. Monkey-Pox, anthrax, polio's back, COVID's still here, right? Something is converging. Something is forming. A big black swan is forming. Here we are now, Geneva Academy. Today's armed conflicts, one rule of law in armed conflict online portal, classifies all situations of armed violence that amount to an armed conflict under international humanitarian law. Middle East and North Africa, more than 45 armed conflicts. This is, in numbers, the most affected regions. More than 45 armed conflicts are currently taking place throughout the Middle East and North Africa in the following territories: Cyprus, Egypt, Iraq, Israel, Libya, Morocco, Palestine, Syria, Turkey, Yemen, and Western Sahara. I'm sure you all can see that China and Russia are making moves now. China's looking to claim Taiwan. We got Korean soldiers on the Russian front there. U.S. is sending billions of dollars. Billions. Billions of dollars. Right? Any chance they can get. What are they doing? They're devaluing their dollar. What does that devaluation do? It makes it so your spending power is worth even less. What happens at that point? Let's find out. So in Canada, what had happened while we were experiencing our lockdowns from COVID, I had been, I guess, relinquished from my position at that point. I worked in aviation. I had lost my job. Okay? A lot of you guys had lost your jobs as well, too. So I had lost my job. Canadian government had come out and said, we have this new thing, called the CERB, CERB as it's known, it's Canadian whatever, I don't remember what it's called. But essentially, all you have to do is go onto your bank on your phone, connect to this, to the Canadian website, and then that payment will get sent automatically to your phone as you need it. What's going on now? What is going on now? Who's receiving that shit? Ontario man blown away after CRA tells him he owes $38,000 in CERB payments. Why? When we got shut down, we were told that it was free money to help you guys. Universal basic income. Universal basic income is coming to help you guys. It wasn't pitched as universal basic income. It was pitched as you guys are out of luck. You're in a hard time. The economy shut down. I got you. I'm Trudeau. I got you. That's what that mofo said to us. He got us. He got us. $2,000 every 2 weeks, essentially, is what we were earning. Right? Background. And this is from 2016. They had done these pilots here to learn about customer acquisition. And then in 2020, during the lockdown, when they started giving out these $2,000, they learned how much it cost the company of the government, the Corporation of Canada, to acquire new customers, to digitally attach to their government wallet, to be funded in my own bank account at this point, right? I went through this shit too. Recognize that. I'm talking from experience here. I'm sure you can hear the passion and fire. I'm spitting from my soul right now, okay? So, we had to repay this stuff. Free money, we thought it was. Free money that was going to help us out. We had to repay this stuff back. And now we got bird flu, monkey-pox, anthrax, polio, COVID, war out in China potentially with Taiwan, war out in China with U.S. potentially stepping in, U.S. helping Israel or Palestine, whoever the fuck they're helping, part of my language, Russia, India, Africa, all those other names I've listed off there. Like, there's a ton of stuff happening right now. Do we need help in the economy? There's still a lot more room to go down. I showed you guys the DXY index going up since September, and now it's accumulating. Why? Do you think the US dollar is going to go to the upside? Well, we'll find out together, won't we? We definitely will. We had spoken about the SPARS pandemic 2025 and 2028, and I broke it down for you guys there from that description there, didn't we? Sounds just like what we're living through right now. You got President Biden who had to step down due to health reasons. Kamala Harris has to step in. Laughing through every effing interview that she's in, right? Do I sound like I'm happy about it? No. Am I getting my emotions invested in it? No. My emotions are talking about this right now, but my emotions are not invested in this. My emotions are nothing to do with my investments. My investments are based off of my thesis now. And my thesis, as I gave you guys the other day, I believe Kamala Harris is going to get in. Why? Because there's still a lot more room for the economy to hurt. How does the legend go? The phoenix rising, right? The phoenix rises from ashes. Do you see ashes around you? Because I certainly don't. I see a lot of separation from people. Purple hair, pink haired, LGBTQ, black, white, men, women, whatever. I see that separation, but I don't see people fighting in the streets yet. Right? I still see people with their paint cans throwing it on paintings to get those look, you know, to mess up those paintings. I still see people sitting in the street because they're doing their gasoline protesting and whatever else is going on, but there's still not enough violence in the street, unfortunately. How does the saying goes? When banks have tanks in the street to protect their assets, then you know some shit is coming down. So look out for that stuff, all right? Look out for that stuff. So here we got Brad Garlinghouse. I just showed you guys the tanks in the streets in China, right? Listen to what this guy has to say. Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple.
Say, you need to adapt to us. I mean, that is dead on arrival. Like, in my experience, and globally, and frankly, even here in Davos, meeting with financial regulators in all kinds of countries, I think we have to acknowledge, Ben Bernanke, the former head of the US Fed, came to one of Ripple's customer events, and one of the things he said is, countries will not give up their ability to control monetary supply. They will roll tanks into the streets first because it's giving up sovereignty. Now, we can debate whether or not some countries at the longer tail ever had control of their money supply. But the G20, I think I agree with Jeremy that digital cash, or excuse me, cash is anonymous and private and all those things. But if you ever walk into the bank and ask to withdraw $20,000 of cash, they're going to ask you a lot of questions. At least.
It's my money. I'm allowed to withdraw from my own bank account. Yeah, so you said that what's the maximum limit you can give a withdrawal to a customer? It's $3,000 on the day. You've already mentioned that multiple times.
Yeah, not today.
Why not today?
Wow, folks, that's a video going viral TikTok. That's the bank in Canada refusing to give a customer money. I mean, it was his money. And, you know, we've talked a lot on this show and for a while now with respect to inflation in the market, but you know, what doesn't get enough attention is the social impact. You know, there's a direct correlation, for instance, with higher inflation and homicide rates. And of course, we continue to talk about this big spike in the so-called Big Mac indicator. By the way, that's also minimum wage. You know, there was a time when we used to worry about this stuff. This is the cover of Time magazine, March 13th, 1972. It says, "Is the U.S. going broke?" Now, the article begins with the statement, "Can a nation with $1 trillion economy be running out of money? By most measures of private wealth, the U.S. is the richest country, but in terms of its ability to pay for the public services, health care, education, welfare, garbage pickup, pollution control, police, fire protection, that make the life of its citizens pleasant or at least tolerable, or in some cases even possible, the country seems almost to be going broke." I want to bring in now Walzer Wealth Management President Rebecca Walzer. You know, Rebecca, you can say that now multiplied by many times, but we just don't seem to care. At least back then, someone was paying attention and someone did care.
You know, that Canadian clip is so scary because that really could happen in America. The Federal Reserve has already talked about potentially a bail-in. They will not bail the banks out again, Charles. If anything happens, money could be frozen and clients will be locked out.
Do you believe that, though?
No, I don't believe that would happen.
No, do you believe they won't bail the banks out? Two things. You've got the Federal Reserve, which really is a bank for the wealthy.
Right.
I mean, it's a bank for the banks and a bank for the wealthy. That's who they work for. They don't work for the U.S. for citizens. It's time people understood that.
I'm so glad you said this because so many people think that because we're the world reserve currency that we have to bail out the dollar, that we won't let our system collapse. What they don't understand is what the BRICS nations are doing to basically do cross-border payment transactions in local currencies without a reserve alternative to the dollar. So, yes, I believe with the amount of deficits that we're running, that we just seem to carte blanche. We're not in a war right now directly. We're not in a pandemic, and yet we're still getting a $7.3 trillion budget proposal from this administration. I think the rest of the world is saying America has taken modern monetary theory way too far.
And of course, you've been talking about gold for a long time. It's paying off. No, listen, this is why you've been positioning your clients.
Absolutely.
Central banks have also been positioning there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And the big spike came with the invasion, right? Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So this is not just inflation. This is sort of an indictment on the geopolitics. I think the ability of America to come to the rescue of the rest of the world.
Yeah, I mean, if you kick someone out of the SWIFT system and say you're going to confiscate their $300 billion in U.S. Forex holdings, that's a problem. Obviously, that wasn't done. Right. But, Charles, that scares a lot of countries, and they basically are buying other things besides the dollar.
So then where do we go from here?
I mean, I am bracing for really global upheaval, macroeconomic disruption, global upheaval. And if we have a World War III or an escalation, that certainly will bring it all the more faster.
I mean, the spike in Google searches for World War III is through the roof.
Exactly.
You know? And this periodically happens. Sometimes people get excited and say, oh, it's no big deal. But at some point, it is a big deal, particularly if it's on the minds of people, because people react to the way they're feeling.
Well, it's also that we've had ongoing conflict that involves a global superpower, Russia, since 2022, and people are uneasy about that. That has not completed yet. Now we've got the Middle East popping off, too. You've got China, Taiwan, tensions going, and with what Xi Jinping is always saying, Taiwan is a part of China. You know, there's a lot of geopolitical problems right now, on top of the economic problems, on top of no one seeming to care in the United States how much money we have to constantly keep printing. Charles, we could go no bid on a Treasury auction. That will really tell us something.
Wow. A lot of folks are saying it will have to be the bond market that gets our minds right. So I got 30 seconds. If they're not in gold, they should still be buying?
Well, this is definitely not the top end. I don't expect it to keep going to the moon. I think we'll have some retrenchment, but it will continue to go up as these global
That's what you'll be able to sleep at night with, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Rebecca, thank you so much.
Thank you,
really
Charles.
appreciate it.
So just reflecting on the rant that we were on now, I'm sorry, but I don't see the people out in the streets yet protesting yet. I don't see that as a thing yet. You saw how China was. You heard Brad Garlinghouse there. The two concepts matched, right? Tanks in the streets. You saw tanks in the street visually. You saw that. You saw that. You heard this man just say that these guys aren't willing to give up the self-sovereign identities at that point, which is what? Their currency. Their currency is their self-sovereign identities. They're not just giving that up without a fight. You know what I'm saying? And everything is based on contract law. Contract law, maritime law, common law. Know your different laws as well. Actually, as we bring this up, come Friday at my town hall here, I'm going to have a subject matter expert in this particular field here. This individual knows the difference between maritime law, common law, contract law, and how we can apply these things within our everyday life to not necessarily need to be a part of this construct when we don't need to be a part of this construct. You feel me? This is the kind of value I bring to my subscribers, right? In the Patreon that I have there. Oh, Mr. Man, we gotta pay $10. You gotta pay $10. So what? You get information that you don't get anywhere else. I bring the information to you. A wealth of information, all right? Next week, I'm gonna have another individual come and talk about their project. Following that, I'm gonna have a high-level banker come and talk to us. Not some service rep. Okay, let me get your money for you. No, a high-level banker. Someone I've known for years. Top-level banker who knows the ins and outs of the banks and recognizes what's going on. About to break this down for us in the Patreon. None of y'all get to see this stuff because this is closed doors conversation unless you're part of the Patreon. All right? I don't ask for much at all. But the amount of value I give out there definitely outweighs. You feel me? You feel where I'm going with this? So where does all this bring us to? Where am I trying to get to? What does all this mean? Right? The reason I don't think Trump will get in is because the economy doesn't need Trump yet. You think it does because you want it to for your own personal construct of this life you're living here. Same for mine. I would like him to, but we're probably not going to get that. We'll probably get this fake woman right here, right? To come in and boom, destroy that economy. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could very well be wrong. Very well be wrong. And again, I hope to God I'm wrong, but we'll see where life goes. But where does this lead? Let me show you where it leads.
It's a great way to get into our next guest, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse, of course, one of the companies we named when it came to the involvement in this election cycle. And Brad, you know, it's interesting because your co-founder, Chris Larson, has given a lot of money to the Harris campaign. You had just told us a little bit ago that you are fiercely independent. And so when you think about the differences in the candidates and how they might approach crypto, what do you really know, particularly because the Harris campaign has been far more vague?
Well, I think there's one thing I feel very confident about, and that is the Biden administration's approach to regulation of the crypto industry. That is coming to an end for sure. And I think no matter where this plays out at the presidential level, we'll have a more constructive engagement with this industry. It's a critical industry, it's an innovative technology, and I think the United States should be at the forefront and leading, as we did with the Internet of Information. I think we'll get there. As I said yesterday at the Philadelphia Federal Reserve, I think Gary Gensler's reign of terror on the crypto industry is going to come to an end very soon.
Brad, in your view, does it matter if Kamala Harris is president come January 20th or Donald Trump is president come January 20th? What's better for you? What's better for Ripple?
Well, I've taken a very neutral point of view. For the crypto industry, I think it's clear that the Republicans at a macro level have been more proactive in saying this is an industry that needs clear regulation. You have seen a Republican-led bill in the House pass with 71 or 72 Democrats crossing the aisle to support that in a very bipartisan way. So I think we have seen a more Republican-centric but I also think you've seen indications that the Harris campaign wants to reset some of the very flawed approaches that the Biden administration has had with the crypto industry and other parts of technology. So what I'm optimistic about is we're going to see a change. We're going to see a reset. And I think we need that at the federal level. The United States, there's no question, the United States is like the UK.
We are going to see a reset. We are going to see a reset. Woo! Choice words, Mr. Garlinghouse. Choice words, Mr. Garlinghouse. Where have I heard that before also? Where else have I heard that? Huh. This is where I heard it. This is where I heard that. This is Mr. Santa Claus, Santa Schwab, COVID-19, the Great Reset. Huh. That was just the beginning of the reset. We are now in the deeper part of the reset here. How does this reset take place? I have a thesis on this, but I will break it down in simple terms. In simple terms for y'all. And again, I hope I'm wrong with this. But all I'm doing is providing my outlook on what I see in the market. That's all I'm doing here. And again, my outlook could be very, very wrong. But as a real estate investor, I'm invested in this economy. As a digital asset investor, I'm invested in this economy. As a crypto asset investor, I'm invested in this economy. Right? As a person who uses the stores out there to go buy food, to get my water, whatever, I'm invested in this economy. So, let me tell you what I see from the real estate front. Let me get this up here. So here we are on the Fed's website again. September 18th, the Federal Reserve has made the following decision to implement the monetary policy stance announced by the FOMC on September. Okay. They are going to be rolling back. So undertake open market operations as necessary to maintain the federal funds rate in a target between 4 3/4 to 5%. So they are rolling back 50%. Was it 50%? Not 50%. 0.5 basis point. 0.50 basis points. There we go. Jesus. 0.50 basis points is what they were rolling back to. And now, here we are here. Right? The cuts are aggressive. This will spark more printing and greater inflation. So listen to this. Larry Fink suggests that we're going to go have at least another 25 basis point rate cut this year. Let me let you hear this.
Before the Fed finishes this year, would you expect a 25 basis point rate cut or a 50 basis point, or you don't know?
I think it's fair to say we're going to have at least a 25, but that being said, I do believe we have greater embedded inflation in the world than we've ever seen. We have government and policy that is much more inflationary, whether it's immigration, excuse me, our policies of onshoring. All of this, no one is asking the question at what cost. Right. Historically, we were, I would say, a more consumer-driven economy that the cheapest products were the best, the most progressive way of politicking. Today, I think we have governmental policies that are embedded inflationary. And with that being said, I think we're not going to see interest rates as low as some people are forecasting.
Before the Fed finishes.
So, here we are. I'm jumping back from Canada and US, and this is my second take of this. I had a solid take, and I wish I had recorded it, but whatever. Here we are. In 2020, we had the build-up. This is Canada. We had the build-up of properties. Build me up, buttercup, baby, just to let me down. Look at this down, and then it starts to accumulate. Why did this happen? Why did this build-up happen? Interest rates were going down. They were down. I remember seeing one of my boys with an interest rate of 0.99%, not even 1%, 0.99%. Housing prices went up as interest rates went down, right? Then they peaked out 2022 and kind of went back down and leveled off at a higher high, though. They are at a higher high, a lot higher than they were in 2020. What does that mean? Here we are, 2024. Interest rates are rolling back again. What does that happen? You build me up, buttercup baby, just to let me down. Think about it now. We're at a higher high already. And people are stating, millennials are stating, everyone's stating, I can't afford to get a house now. I can't afford to get a house now. But you have some people saying, if I don't get into a house now, I will never get in. I will never get in if I don't get in now. Those are the people who are going to get hurt. Because interest rates go down, they're going to buy a house. The house value is going to go up. They will have a hard time selling that house. Who's going to buy it? More speculators. If speculators can even afford to buy into that house to begin with.
Here in one of Vancouver's most desirable neighborhoods, a renovated, move-in ready family home. Now the price tag slightly less than $4 million, but given a slow market over the past 2 years, it may be a better deal, this house, than it otherwise could be.
At this moment, maybe things seem a little bit more open, like things aren't getting snapped up quite as quickly as they were when the interest rates were lower. It's still really challenging. There's not a lot of inventory in the desirable neighborhoods.
Now, if this house doesn't sell quickly, the price could actually increase. That's according to a new Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation report today. It's saying house prices in Vancouver are expected to rise, get back to the peak where they were at 2 years ago. That's because buyers are expecting mortgage rates to drop, so demand is increasing.
A little bit of positive momentum in that people are expecting rates to come down later this year, so buyers are saying, okay, now's our time to get in. Let's go on a variable rate mortgage. We'll take advantage of the lower rates as they unfold.
Here in Vancouver's West End, rentals are numerous, but the news isn't much better according to the CMHC. Rents are set to increase, vacancy rates set to decrease, also all tied to a lack of supply and even an increase in population to the region.
Now I feel like I've been priced out, like I'm stuck in my apartment, I can't move out anymore.
I'm affording my rent because I've been in my place for 11 years, so I'm protected under the tenancy rental cap that the government provides.
The government should do something.
But wait, hasn't the provincial government and the federal government been busy building rental housing? Yes, they have, with announcements almost weekly. But the CMHC says that supply is nowhere near to ready to keep up with demand. The provincial government, however, is more optimistic.
We are confident, though, that we will surpass targets, given that we are taking steps to unlock small-scale multi-units, unlock transit-oriented development, and I do believe that BC will continue to lead the country in housing starts.
So what to do? Well, if you're looking to buy, the CMHC says look to Metro Vancouver's suburbs. That's where new builds that are affordable and available are set to come online over the next couple of years. As for rentals, well, hang on to what you have and hope that government-led rental building projects like this one come available fast. Chad Pawson, CBC News, Vancouver.
So if speculators decide not to buy your house, the area that you're in, picture that house being worth $1 million and you bought it for $1.2 million, okay? Other houses around you are going for $1.2 million as well. This guy tries to sell because he's having a hard time. So he has it listed for like 6-7 months, cannot sell, drops the value. Your house, comparable to this house, apples to apples, your house is now worth that same value, even though you might perceive it worth at this value. That's the difference between market value and perceived value. This house drops value now. If this house sells for this value, your house is automatically that value. Automatically. Because no one else will come and buy it higher from you. So if you hold on to that house, you're going to get your ass handed to you. You will end up foreclosing. Why? Because as those housing prices continue to build up, and interest rates continue to go down and go down and go down, eventually we'll get to a place where it's unsustainable and housing prices is ridiculous. And no one can afford anything. So what do you think the Federal Reserve is going to do? The Bank of Canada, the European Central Bank, Bank of England. What do you think these central banks are going to do? Right? Inflation is out of hand. Inflation is out of our control. Boom, let's shoot it up. Let's shoot up that interest rate to get control of inflation again. Things have gotten way out of our control. we cannot achieve that soft landing as we thought we were going to achieve.
Bank of America economists are nixing concerns about a housing crash like the one experienced in 2008. Instead, they say the market is more reminiscent of what played out 4 decades ago. Let's bring in Danny Romero with more on the latest warning coming out of B of A. Danny.
Akiko, Bank of America warned last week that their economists are feeling some type of eerie deja vu feeling, but not from the 2008 housing market, instead from the 1980s. Bank of America economists say that there are a few key similarities. Back in the 1980s, inflation was running high. CPI had hit 14.8% on an annual basis, leading to those years in the 1980s. And as a response, the Federal Reserve raised interest rates, which consequently caused mortgage rates to hover between 9% and 18% during that time frame. Also, it was a prime time for baby boomers to start purchasing some homes. Does that sound a little bit somewhat similar to what's going on now? And if we fast forward to today, inflation hit its highest level June of 2022. And the Federal Reserve recognized that inflation was a problem, so they increased interest rates, and consequently, mortgage rates have nearly doubled. Mortgage rates are now hovering over that 7%, hindering purchasing power for demand millennials right now. And there are still some similarities. Home prices have surged, demand has fallen, sales of existing homes has tanked. But the biggest difference between now and then is leverage. Mortgage debt to disposable income hit 65% in the second quarter of this year compared to 45% in the 1980s. That's not something to really worry about, Bank of America economists have said, because household balance sheets are still really, really strong and they're in very good shape. But looking ahead, Bank of America expects limited housing, high home prices, and labor shortages. And also, they still say that affordability will remain the biggest challenge looking ahead. And they even said, wrapping up, that there is potential turbulence looking ahead. Akiko?
Yeah, no relief on the horizon, at least for prospective buyers. Danny Romero, thanks so much for that.
We got a hard-ass landing coming up. How hard is it? Boom. That economy is going to feel it, right? That's when an asset like XRP, XLM needs to be utilized. I don't know how you guys forget about this stuff here, right? The phoenix rises from what? The economy doesn't need it right now. Y'all can get mad at me if you want because I'm saying I don't think Trump's going to get in. Don't get upset at me. I'm just giving you guys my market outlook. That's all I'm doing. I'm here to help y'all and paint a different picture opposed to what some other people might think, right? Allow new concepts, new constructs, new ideas into your head. Let it sit there, right? Don't take it in as truth. Don't take what I'm saying as truth. Don't take it in. Just allow it to sit in your head and marinate and just say, okay, that's new information. I'm going to let that sit there. This individual clearly knows something about real estate's interest rates and apples to apples, right? I'm a real estate investor. This individual clearly knows something about real estate. One of the largest investments in this world that you can own. Right? Well, anyways, I'm going to come off this thing. We're sitting at about 46 minutes. I got about 5 minutes talking to myself on a screen there sitting on mute. So I'm going to take that out and then we won't be at 45 minutes again. Well, I'll see you guys on the next one. I hope you found some value in this one.
We making moves. We making major moves. We making moves.